Okay, looks like we're going to go ahead and kick off our webinar. So let's start. Hi, everyone. Welcome to our webinar, Supercharge Your Lead Management with Facebook Lead Ads and Zapier. We know you have a lot of things you could be doing with your time right now, so we really do appreciate you all being here with us. We also love to see that we have a huge international audience today. People are joining us from all over the world. Super awesome to see. We're excited to have you here. My name is Veronique, and I'll be moderating today's event. Before we get started, I just want to go over a few housekeeping rules. First of all, this webinar will be recorded, and you'll get an email with the recording after the webinar. Next, all attendees are muted, but if you have questions, please put them in the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen. And you guys will all get a recording after the webinar. Also, due to just the sheer volume of people in the chat, we really encourage you all to drop in the Q&A box. Lori from our support team will do her best during the call. And if we're not able to get to your question in the chat, then we will have a live Q&A with Reed and Anisha to answer some of your questions at the end. There will also be a survey at the end of the webinar. We'd love if you could fill it out and give us feedback that you want to see improved, and it will help us on future events. Lastly, we're on social, so if you're live tweeting, please use the hashtag Zapier or our Twitter handle or at our Twitter handle Zapier. Let's get started. I'd like to introduce you to our speakers today. First, we have Anisha Bala. Anisha is a partnership lead at Facebook, where she helps businesses build today and engineer a thriving future. She oversees Facebook strategic partnerships with Zapier to drive joint product innovation. Anisha is based in San Francisco, California, and she can't wait to get back on a plane once we're all on the other side of this pandemic. Reed Robinson is the Senior Partnerships Manager at Zapier. He works with important partners such as Facebook to ensure Zapier users have the best solution possible to automate their lead management workflows. When not talking about integrations, you can find Reed in Vancouver, Canada, playing video games or walking his pet corgi, Oshi. Remember, you can ask all the questions you want in the Q&A panel at the bottom of your screen. Our team will save some time at the end to answer them in real time. We'll try to get to your questions as best as we can. And with that, I'm going to let Reed and Anisha take it away. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Veronique, and thank you to the entire Zapier team, and welcome everybody to Supercharge Your Leads Management with Facebook Lead Ads and Zapier. I'm excited to talk about the magic of Facebook Lead Ads and Zapier and how together you can automate almost anything and save time. Quickly, the agenda. I'm going to kick things off telling you a little bit about Facebook Lead Ads. I'm going to hand it over to my friend Reed, who's going to talk you through what is Zapier and lead you through a live demo of how to use Facebook Lead Ads and Zapier together. Next, I'm going to dive into 2 additional exciting integrations that you can use to really supercharge your Facebook ads, Conversions API, and custom audiences. And we'll end with a live Q&A, so please get your questions ready. So as I mentioned, I'm so looking forward to talking about all things lead gen with all of you. But in this really tough time in the world, as we all reemerge from this pandemic, businesses really need help acquiring more leads faster. So how are you collecting your leads today? Maybe your users see your content via a post or an ad, and then you're driving them to a landing page where they then fill out a form. This method can be effective to a point, because users have to currently abandon anything that they're doing to give you their contact information. And we all know that filling out forms on mobile can be difficult and tedious. Facebook Lead Ads makes the lead generation process really easy. People can simply tap onto your ad and a form pops up that's already pre-populated with their contact information and ready to be sent directly to you. What's even better is that newly generated leads can be synced directly with your CRM via Zapier so that your sales team can go ahead and take immediate action on those leads. This process is key to boosting conversions, offering a seamless user experience, and leaving a really positive impression on your leads. Now, I'd like to pass it over to my friend Reed to talk you through some of the magic of Facebook lead ads and Zapier.
Thanks so much, Anisha. And hello, everybody. Reed Robinson here from Zapier. So what is Zapier? To me and to a lot of our users, Zapier is time back in your life. But what does Zapier actually do? Well, the way I like to describe what Zapier does, it's kind of like saying it's the grand central for your data. We help by easily moving your data from point A to point B. And the best part is it's an entirely plug and play solution that can be used and set up by anyone. You don't need to be a developer. You don't need to have any engineering experience. It's incredibly easy to do. So for all of you Facebook advertisers out there, this means less time doing manual uploads or downloads of leads and more time focusing on what really matters to you. My favorite part of our customer case studies when we release them is always when our users talk about what they're able to do with the extra time in their life, whether it's spending time with loved ones or just doing more of the things that they enjoy in life. So without further ado, let's dive right in and I'll show you a little bit more about how Zapier actually works for Facebook lead ads. So first of all, workflows in Zapier are appropriately called Zaps. And every Zap has at least two parts to it. And it starts with what we call a trigger. And in this case, with Facebook lead ads, the trigger is when a new lead is created from Facebook. So once this happens, Zapier is going to receive that new lead immediately. And then we're going to start to do the action. And this is what comes next. So this is where you tell Zapier what to do with the new lead. And in this case that I'm showing, it's adding a new subscriber to MailChimp. And this is going to run every single time a new lead is generated from Facebook. So every time there's a new lead, Zapier is going to get it and send it to MailChimp as a new subscriber automatically. And the great part is this works with so many systems, whether it's MailChimp, whether you're creating leads in Salesforce, or you're creating contacts in HubSpot, or even different types of use cases, such as sending emails through Gmail. Maybe you want to send a thank you email instead. Or you want to just add your leads to a Google Sheet to keep track of. All of these use cases are possible. And the best part is Zapier has thousands of different applications on our platform, which means whatever use case you need to automate your leads, it's possible with Zapier. So I want to walk through a short demo here of how this actually works. I want to show you from start to finish, how do you create a Facebook lead ad Zap on Zapier? And I'm going to be going through two simple use cases here. The first is how do we add leads to Salesforce Essentials from new Facebook leads? Then I'm going to show you how you can do an additional step by sending an email to Gmail or through Gmail. All right, so let's dive right in and show you what it looks like. So we are now in Zapier. And so, way I would have got here is just click make a new Zap. And the first step, as we talked about, is the trigger. So here, I'm going to look for Facebook lead ads. I'm going to go ahead and select it as the app I want to use. Then I'm going to select the trigger event. So that's what happens. In this case, it's a new lead. Then what we're going to do here is we're going to continue and select or authenticate or sign in to your Facebook account. This should be the Facebook account you want to use to search for your leads. In this case, I'm going to use my Facebook account. Then once you've authenticated your Facebook account, you're going to be able to select the actual page where you're running your Facebook lead ad campaign from. So if you have multiple pages, you want to make sure you're selecting the right one. As you'll see here, I have quite a few. So I'm going to select this one. Next, you have the option to select a specific form. We recommend you do select the form that you're using and create a Zap specific for that form, whether it's a different type of use case you have, a different industry. It helps ensure a seamless workflow. So once you've selected the form, the next step here is Zapier is going to test the data that comes from this form. So it's going to pull either the most recent lead or just a sample lead that it can generate. I'll show you a little bit later in the webinar that this is actually, it's possible to send your own test lead through. So I'm going to press test trigger, and this is where it is calling Facebook. And you'll see here, I've actually sent a test lead through for Daenerys Targaryen. So she will be our test lead here today. Once you've done that and you see your test lead and the type of data, these are all of the options that are going to be available to us in the next step. Now, for us, that next step is the action step. And this is, well, we're trying to create a new lead in Salesforce Essentials. So I'm going to search for Essentials, and I'm going to select Salesforce Essentials. And the action event here for Salesforce is going to be creating a record. That's kind of their parent objects for leads. Next, I'm going to, just as before, you're going to sign in to your account. In this case, I've already signed into my Salesforce account. So we're going to go ahead and do that. And next, you're going to select the type of property you want to make, whether it's a contact, a lead. So in this case, I'm just making a lead. And what I will say here is this is going to be similar no matter what solution you're using. So if it's HubSpot, if it's Zoho, if it's Insightly, if it's so many other tools out there, this is all going to be a very similar workflow. And now this is really where the magic of Zapier comes in. You'll see here that we've pulled all of the fields that are available from the Salesforce lead. And now we're just going to map to the data that we get from Facebook. So we're going to teach Zapier how to create leads. Well, for last name, we're going to click in here, and I can see right away that there's a last name field that we get from the Facebook lead ad step. That's perfect. That's exactly what I want to send every time. First name, we're going to do the same thing. And you kind of go on and do this for each of the steps. And you'll see here, there's a show all options. So there's a lot of data available to you. And you can always search here as well. So if I search for title, I can see that I have my job title field. And once again, you just go through, you can do this for the email fields that you have. And these are pulling right from the sample data that you've created on your form. So you can go ahead and make sure it is done correctly. You can even make sure you choose fields. So if you have lead source as an option for your records, you can go ahead, and we know that this is an advertisement. So we're going to go ahead and do that. If you have other fields, you could input the form ID and really make this easy for you to track later on. And once we're done and we've mapped the appropriate fields, which I want to just double check, I have done, it'll tell you if there's required fields. As you see, I missed one, which is perfect. So we want to do company name. And there we go. That should be all of the required fields that I need to do. And now I can press continue. Once you've mapped all of the data for your field, you can now send a test record. So this will create an actual lead in your Salesforce Essentials account whenever you want to. So this will do it. If I hit test, this will allow us to create that lead and we can see it live in Facebook. You can also skip the test. So if you don't want to send sample leads to your CRM for whatever reason, you can go ahead and skip that test as well. And then really importantly, the last step is always going to be turning your Zap on. This is really important because if you don't turn the Zap on, it's actually not going to run. And it's not going to detect any of those new leads. So always when you're done, once you finalize everything, just make sure you turn your Zap on like that. And that's it. You can also share your Zaps. So if you have other colleagues or friends or people who say, hey, I made this awesome workflow, I want to share it with you, you can go ahead, copy this link and share it with them. None of your data in there is shared. It's just the structure of that Zap. So now that we've set up one Zap that shows us how to create new leads in Salesforce, let's see a different example. Well, for this example, let's say not only I wanted to create a lead in Salesforce, but I also want to reach out to my lead right away and say, hey, thanks for contacting us. We're going to be in touch shortly. Please wait for us. So once again, I've created the Facebook lead, I added it to Salesforce, and you'll see there's a little plus button here. You can press that to create another action. So you can create a lot of actions in Zapier to do different things. So in this case, I've selected Gmail, and the event is going to be to send an email. Well, once you've done that, as you can imagine, now you're going to sign in to your Gmail account or select the one that you want to use. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And next, you're going to create your email. Just like we did before with Salesforce, you're going to be able to map all the different properties. And here you'll see you actually have two to choose from, but I'm going to be using the Facebook step, and I want to choose email. So I'm going to search for email, and that's who I'm sending the email to. So it's going to be to the lead from. I want to select the email address that I want it to come from. So if you have multiple, you're able to choose it there. And you can start to say things like, thanks for reaching out to, and then the company name, which my demo account is Ocean Co. Oshi is the name of my corgi, so she is my demo account. And then in the body, you can start to do nice things like hello, and then grab the first name from the form and do a comma. And then you can start writing out the rest of your email. And it's really just that simple. So you can, if you had questions on your form, like they inquired about, a particular object or a particular product of yours, you could say, thanks for your inquiry about X, and just input the little field in your Zap. And that's really all you need to do. And now what's going to happen once I turn this Zap on is every time you get a new lead, not only are you going to create a lead in your Salesforce Essentials account, you're also going to send an email to that lead right away, thanking them for their interest. And that concludes the demo portion. I hope that was helpful in just getting a quick sense of how you can actually set up leads with Zapier. Next, I want to walk you through some common issues that some of our users run into, so that if any of these happen to you, you're ready and you know what to do to get around that. So first, and these are, I'm showing you here on the right, how this looks in Facebook, because there's a couple of things that you want to make sure you have. First of all, on the page that you're using, you want to make sure that you have the admin access to that page. You're also going to want to make sure, similarly, on the ad account side, that you have the same level of permission. Next, this is an optional step, as it's only applicable to users if they're using the lead access option in Facebook. And you'll know you are if you go to this little integration tab in your business settings, and it gives you options, or it'll tell you that you haven't configured it. So if you do, or your client is using it, you want to go in and just make sure you are assigned as a person to that page to download the leads. And similarly, for people who use lead access, you'll want to make sure that Zapier is listed as a CRM. So you'll see the third tab there is the CRM step. Once you're there, you'll want to click Assign a CRM, and Zapier will appear as an option. All you do is select Zapier to assign, and that's it. It's important to note Zapier will only appear as an option once the Zap is turned on. So you're going to want to set up your Zap, turn it on, and then come back here if you lead access and just select Zapier as an assigned CRM. Lastly, I talked about what you can do to send your own test lead through Zapier. So, if you wanted to send John Stark instead, or John Snow, through, you can actually go ahead and go to Facebook's lead ads testing tool, select your page, select your form, and then there's that preview form button. This will allow you to input your own sample data. And once you save that lead, you can go back to Zapier, test that trigger step with Facebook lead ads, and now you're going to see the lead you made. This is really helpful because some users might want to have different types of workflows for different variables that might come through for their demo. So if a form indicates that they have over 500 employees in their company, perhaps you have a different workflow you want to use for that, and you want to test that. this is a great way to be able to test those different workflows. Awesome. Now that we've mastered Facebook lead ads, I want to pass it back to Anisha to talk us through how to take your Facebook ads game to the next level. Anisha, take it away.
Thanks for that demo, Reed. So I wanted to take a quick step back and shift gears just a little bit and acknowledge for you all that our ads ecosystem is evolving and changing right before our eyes. More and more users of your businesses and your companies want to know how their data is being used and processed. New regulations have been enacted, like GDPR in the EU and CCPA here in California, just to name a few. On top of that, there have been changes across ad platforms, devices, and browsers. These include concepts that you may have heard of, such as tracking prevention to limit the use of third-party cookies, and ad blocking, which is becoming the standard setting across browsers like Safari. Many of you may have even heard of the latest changes to iOS 14. This is just the beginning, and it's so important for your businesses to start planning for these changes today. Next slide, please. Without data from the browser or information around website actions, you as a small business may see impact throughout the marketing funnel. At the top, it's going to get a lot harder to reach as many people who might be interested in your product and services. At the bottom of the funnel, losing visibility could really impact how well ads can be optimized and drive acquisition and conversion. And lastly, measuring what matters becomes really difficult, and it's getting harder and harder, which can adversely impact your entire ad strategy. Fortunately, Zapier and Facebook have come together to develop a solution to meet these challenges and continue to allow you to provide relevant advertising for your consumers. Zapier's Conversions API solution helps you get ahead of these changes and challenges by allowing you to share data from consumers who you've received explicit consent and permissions. And you can share that data directly from your server rather than through the browser pixel or cookie. It helps you measure and optimize your ad campaigns for the outcomes you want using the data that you control. Adopting Facebook Conversions API today is a proactive step that can help you safeguard your advertising from expected performance degradations across the next couple of months, while preserving your customers and your users' privacy choices and control. So to get started on the Facebook and Zapier Conversions API, you can go to zapier.com/apps and search for the Conversions app today and turn it on. Finally, I wanted to talk about custom audiences, something you may have heard of, and that's pretty widely used on Zapier. Custom audiences is such a powerful tool for advertising on Facebook. Custom audiences are groups of people that already have relationships with your business. For example, you can create a custom audience of people who've signed up for your email list or visited your website recently, and then use that custom audience to run ads to encourage those same people to follow your business on Facebook, or better yet, upsell them. Custom audiences really improves your overall customer lifetime value. After you've created a custom audience and you're ready to grow and expand your business, you can use lookalike audiences to expand it to include the people who haven't yet signed up for your email or newsletter or visited your website. But share some of those same attributes and characteristics as some of the people who have, and that are some of your best customers. This is a great way to get your products in front of people who are likely to already be interested in what you're selling and what you're offering, but maybe aren't yet interested in your name or your business or your company. Next slide, please. With Zapier today, you can easily automate custom audiences lists anywhere and save yourself a ton of time, whether it's adding emails from a Google Sheet, MailChimp, or ActiveCampaign, or the thousands of other apps and Zaps that Zapier has. It's always really easy to automate your custom audiences through Zapier. And as always, you can reach custom audiences on zapier.com/apps and search custom audiences.
Thanks, Anisha, and thanks everybody. Now that you know how to set up Zapier for lead ads, and we've learned just how powerful the conversions API and custom audiences can be, we want to see all of your amazing apps. So please remember, if you ever need help, just go to zapier.com/help, and we're here to get you started. Now, I want to take some time today to answer questions you have. So as a reminder, please drop your questions in the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen, and we'll get to your questions. Awesome. I see a lot of really good questions coming in already. And so to start things off, I see one for Anisha. Anisha, how do you improve the quality of leads that you get from Facebook lead ads?
That's such a good question, and we'll definitely send a follow-up with sort of detailed best practices after this webinar. But there's probably a few things that I have top of mind here. So first of all, in setting up your lead ad, make sure that you include engaging imagery and videos and a relevant call to action, whether that's in the copy, really stating at the top what kinds of customers or leads that you're looking for. So make sure you qualify those leads at the very top copy. Secondly, as we talked about earlier in the webinar, use lookalike audiences and custom audiences to garner the best targeting lists. For lead ads, we often recommend using an audience based on existing customers rather than those who have already submitted a form, so that you can reach people that are most likely to provide sort of the most value for your business. I would think about adding multiple choice questions to better qualify your leads. So you can add quick multiple choice questions in the form, kind of maybe asking, what is your timeline for purchase? What verticals or services or products are you interested in, to make sure you kind of further down the funnel of a quality lead. And then, while I would limit the number of short answers that you include in your lead form, I would use custom questions to really kind of make sure that the leads that you're capturing are quality and people just aren't autofilling or pre-filling the boxes. And so those are just a couple of the best practices. As I said, we'll share sort of a broader document with you all, so you can make sure that you get sort of the most quality leads from your lead ads on Zapier.
Thanks, Anisha. And here's, I think, a question that I can help answer pretty quickly. What Zapier plan do I need to use Facebook lead ads? The great news here is Facebook lead ads is available for any of Zapier's paid plans. So whether it's on the starter plan and up, Facebook lead ads and all the other apps on Zapier are available. If you ever have a question, all of our plan details are available right on our website, zapier.com, I think /pricing. You should be able to get all of them there. I also see another question here that's really interesting that I can go ahead and grab. It's, how can I check to see if an app I use is integrated with Facebook lead ads? And if it's not, is there something I can do to have it added to Zapier? This is a great question. I get this a lot. One of the nice things is, if there's ever an app you want to see if it's on Zapier, all you do is go to zapier.com. You'll see a search bar at the top of our website. That search allows you to search all of the apps on Zapier. So if whatever tool you use, if you search it and it's there, it's available on Zapier. You can also see on that page all of the triggers and actions that are available for that app as well. So you want to make sure it's on Zapier and it does the functionality that you want it to do. Next.
Sorry, can I jump in there, Reed?
Sure.
So just a quick point about this. We want to know what your apps are. So feel free to write into our support team and say, hey, I want to integrate with this app. Can you get it on your wish list? And possibly we can add it in the future. We also recommend reaching out to the app directly and being like, hey, I'd really want you to have a Zapier integration, and anyone can build an integration on Zapier. So if this app is like, hey, we want to be on Zapier, they can build their own integration and get on Zapier. And I posted in the chat a link for a little bit more detail about how to add an app to Zapier. I'm also going to put in one of how to work with apps that aren't currently on Zapier, so that you can sort of still get stuff working. So I'll pop that into the chat as well. Sorry, I'll let you keep going. Thanks.
No problem. Yeah.
I see a question here. Sorry, Reid. I see a question here around, I've used ads that connect with Messenger to have a conversation where the person gives their information through the automated chat system. I send it through Zapier, and I can do what I want with it. Do you have any data or insight into whether lead ads forms versus Messenger conversations return better quality clients? This is a good one, and we've recently introduced Messenger for lead ads, so you can actually sort of find those lead ads, send them directly into the Messenger through Messenger chats and Messenger bots. This depends on your use case, and it depends where you're going to get your highest quality clients and customers. I would say kind of know your clients here, but Messenger tends to have very, very high intent customers already of your products and services because they're already sort of engaging with you. So while both have their pros and cons, messaging certainly has a very high intent when it comes to lead ads.
Great. Thanks, Anisha. Someone asked a question there, if they're using MailChimp, can you also have it, I think it was add to MailChimp, can you also have it send an email once you've done that? And the answer is yes. As you saw in that second step there with Zapier, you just add an additional action to whatever you're doing. So if you've done new lead to and add as a subscriber to MailChimp, you can go ahead and choose the next action to just send that live email there. And that's what you would need to do. And you could do that for any combination of things. So we see, for instance, a number of users might want to notify someone internally or their sales team that a new lead has come in. Not only can you add it to your CRM, you can also notify your team in Slack or in Microsoft Teams or in Google Chat, any tool you can use to kind of notify someone internally that a new lead has come in. Anisha, I see a question here regarding the conversion API, and someone wants to elaborate on the use cases for that. You want to just share a little bit more on how people are using the conversions API?
Yeah, great question. So the Conversions API is sort of a unique offering that Zapier has that allows you to really blend sort of the best performance on your Facebook advertising with the utmost privacy controls. And the reason the Conversions API was really developed is because of all the regulatory changes that I talked about. So GDPR, CCPA, iOS 14, and everything else that's coming around the pipe, and really kind of eliminating third-party tracking, cookies, and pixels. So for those of you that use pixel tracking today on your websites or your businesses, that will eventually fade away. And Conversions API is really sort of the next step in helping send data directly from Zapier or your platforms via your server. So using the Conversions API from Zapier helps you send your data to Facebook via safe and controlled way to better retarget and better kind of have better effective personalized advertising. And this personalized advertising will be retained when the regulations kind of go into effect. So you can use the Conversions API today. You'll have more targeting options and the ability to send more data in a more sort of privacy first way. You can think of it as sort of on par with the pixel or a cookie today, but with additional options.
Thanks. Here's a question that I've definitely seen before from users, so I want to make sure I answer this one. It says, my leads from Facebook are full name, meaning that it's one field with first name and last name combined. But my CRM uses first name and last name. Currently, I have to go into the CRM and manually separate all first and last names. Is there an automated way to do this? The answer here is yes. With Zapier, there's a really limitless things that you can do with the data before you actually send it to your CRM. So one of the things that I would encourage everyone to check out for these types of things is a tool in Zapier called Formatter. So just like you're adding a new action step, if you look at Formatter by Zapier, it allows you to do a lot of different changes to the data. And so one of the things that you can do for first name, last name, for instance, would be to split the text with the spaces. So for instance, if it was, Matthew Smith came in as a lead, Zapier can then, it would send it to the formatter step, and the formatter step will say, hey, we're going to split this into 2 different fields for Matthew and Smith. And then in your next step for the CRM, you would just select from Formatter instead of from the lead ads data, and you just take the 2 components there. And you could do that for a lot of different things. We have users who, for whatever reason, their CRM doesn't like the plus symbol in front of phone numbers, for instance. And so you can make a formatter step that just removes the plus symbol. Or you need to translate something along the way. You can start to do a lot of that to make sure that the data is ending up in your CRM in the correct format and the correct way.
I have here, will the changes with Apple affect Facebook ads? Will the Conversions API help with this? The answer is yes. So the changes with Apple and iOS 14 will affect the entire advertising industry. We don't know exactly when those changes will land and what they will be, but we have some early indications, and Conversions API is absolutely the solution and sort of the go forward path for personalized advertising across ad platforms today.
Yeah. Awesome. I saw some other questions on changing the data. So hopefully my mention on the formatter step will help you along the way there. So one question that I see here is on, instead of sending an email after a lead comes in, can you send a SMS reply? Another great question. On Zapier, you'll see that there are a lot of various SMS providers available as different app integrations. So if you use common tools like Twilio, for instance, to send text messages to your clients or something like that, you can actually integrate with a lot of different SMS tools and add that as an action step. So, if you didn't want to email and you wanted to send a text, I'd highly recommend exploring some of those solutions so that you can add it as an action step to your Zap. I hope you can see here the options and availability that you can do with Zapier really is limitless. So I'd encourage you to think about what is that ideal workflow you want to make, what's going to help your clients and leads respond the best way possible. Cool.
Just sifting through a couple of these.
Yeah, you all are asking very good questions. So thanks for continuously submitting them to the Q&A. Once again, I see people asking about what happens if their tool is not listed. As Lori shared, please contact Zapier's support team. We keep track of all of the app requests that we get. And what we do is, if we see, some really good requests coming in, we actually try to reach out to those companies directly and ask them to add their app to be supported on Zapier, and we'll let you know when that happens. Additionally, if you work with any of those companies or you pay them, I'd recommend contacting their support team as well and say, hey, do you have a Zapier integration? Because this way it'll let them know that there is interest amongst their users. And so it's always great to hear from people. So highly recommend you to reach out to us as well as to any partner you want to see on Zapier. I see another question here, a couple of questions related to emails. Someone wants to know if you're able to share, or if I'm able to share, how to send an email to yourself with the contact info for new leads from Facebook. Great question. If you saw in that Gmail step, there's also email by Zapier that we have as an option. you can absolutely do that. What you would do is, instead of mapping the field, so instead of actually putting in the email address that was received from Facebook lead ads, you can actually just type into Zapier and just type your email address. So this way, it's not a dynamic field that will update every time there's a new lead. It'll just go every time there's a new lead, you can send it to yourself. We see that very common because people want to reach out to new leads. You can also use SMS by Zapier if you want to text the lead data to yourself as well. A lot of things you can do to kind of notify yourself that a new lead has come in. I understand, time to respond to a lead is really important. And so we see a lot of people taking advantage of Zapier to be able to do that. Awesome.
I see a question here around.
Yeah.
Learn more about the Conversions API or custom audiences. Yes, there's a plethora of information on Zapier. In fact, there's an interesting blog post that was published on Zapier in November. It's called Create Hyper-Targeting Ads with Facebook Conversions API. We can send that over as a follow-up. And there's also documentation on custom audiences and lookalike audiences. And so we can follow up with that. But quite a bit of it is on sort of the Zapier blog today.
Thanks, Anisha. And yeah, we do I encourage you to check out Zapier's blog. We have a lot of resources for Facebook lead ads, for custom audiences, for the Conversions API, for a lot of different functionality, and just overall really great tips for businesses and lead management and other automation use cases you might discover as well. Awesome. Well, I think we've answered a lot of questions here. I'm seeing a lot of questions come in. So Anisha, I'll offer you if you have any other question you want to answer to finish things off with, or.
I see so many. I think we have a bunch to follow up on, but maybe we wrap if you don't see any others.
Sounds good. Yeah, I think, well, there's a lot of questions, but yeah, I think for the sake of time, we will call it a day here. And we'll want to keep in mind, we are following up with a number of resources. And if you have any questions, do feel free to reach out to Zapier. We're here to help you get started. We're here to help you automate your lead management workflows. And I want to take a minute to thank Anisha for joining us today, and for all of you taking the time to join us as well.
Thank you all.